In this walkthrough, you'll learn how to add a condition to your flow. A condition allows you to do an if statement. So if this is greater than this, or if the text is in this text, or other types of evaluations where you want to have a condition or a fork in the road and make a decision and go down a different path based on your data. To do this, let's build an example flow. So first we'll go put a new flow and then instant cloud flow. We'll give it a name of condition test, and then we'll use manually trigger a flow. Then we'll click create. The idea of manually triggering a flow allows us to provide sample data quickly and iteratively so we can learn and practice. And then once we solve how to use a condition, then you can insert just the condition into your flow. So here what we're going to do first is we're going to say we want to manually trigger a flow, and manually trigger a flow allows you to add an input, and we're going to add a date input like so. And so this input's dynamic content will be called trigger date. Now we're going to do a new step, and right here at the top of actions is the condition. When you add condition, you'll see that you have the evaluation portion, and then you have the yes path and the no path, or the true and the false. So here what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if the provided date, so we'll click on choose a value, the dynamic content shows up, and if we scroll down here at the bottom, we should see trigger date. So if the date that the user provides when they manually trigger this is less than, and so notice here we have a lot of different options. We have ones for like contains and does not contain, so think of those for text. We have equal, not equal to, greater than, less than, right? All of those are your typical value comparisons. So that could be numbers or dates, which we're going to use in this case. And then down here, starts with, doesn't start with, ends with, and does not ends with. These are going to be more of your text ones. So in our case, because we're using a date and that's a value, we can say if the date is less than, and then we want to do it based off of today's date. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn something new real quick, and we're going to click in here and we're going to go to expressions. And so inside of flow, there's an expression called UTC now. We'll select that expression and say, okay. So that will insert the current date and time in UTC format. So that way we can compare right now's date and time to the time they specify. That looks good. So now if the date is less than now, we're going to go down this side. That would be true. We'll add an action and we'll do a notification by selecting notifications here. And they say, send me an email notification. We'll enter the selected date is in the past. And then for the body, so we can visualize things, we'll say the trigger date was, and then we'll use our dynamic content again for searching for trigger. We'll scroll this up right there. And so then now this would give us this email notification if the date selected when we trigger it was less than today. Perfect. We'll now click on the no branch and we'll add an action. We'll do a notification again, and we'll send another email notification. And so here we'll just kind of expand out the left side so we can see it, so we can make them very similar. We could even go over here with our mouse and copy, Control C, and then paste right here, Control V, and then change this to be future. And then for the body, you can even do the same thing when dynamic content's involved. So highlight all that, Control C, and then go right here and paste it in. And so there we go. We now have very similar messages, but one says the past, one says the future. And this should set us up perfectly to test, is our condition working the way we expect? So now we'll say save. And now we can go over to test, manually test, and test. Then we'll say continue. And now we can select the date. So let's check to see, is July 1st. How does that compare? So we'll run the flow and we'll say done. Our flow ran successfully. That's great. Our trigger ran. You can see the data that came back. And then our condition came back with a false. And so that is saying that July 1st is not less than today. And since today is June 4th, that is correct. And so you can see over here, if we look down the branches, the yes, the true path, there's a gray X. This means this path did not happen. The no or false path, there's a green check mark. So this happened. So now if we click edit again, just to look, we'll be reminded that, we can go in here, we can have additional steps. You can have as many actions inside either one of these columns that you'd like. You can also have steps. If you use the new step here, this will be an action that runs when either branch finishes. So this one runs after the condition, whether you want the true or the false path. Whereas if you click on add an action in here, then this would only happen in the true path. So you have control over that. So there you go. Now you know how to use the condition action inside of Flow.